mathematicians. Today we're going to be learning about fractions, and in this video we're going to be comparing fractions. Before we begin, let's go over equality and inequality symbols. Firstly, we have our symbol here, which is an equal sign, and it means equal to. Next, we have this symbol over here, which means greater than. And then finally, we have this symbol over here, which means less than. So we're going to use these symbols when we want to say a number is equal to, greater than, or less than another number. To get us started, we have two fractions here. We have 7/8 and we have 3/8. And we want to use one of those symbols to compare these two fractions. So let's take a look at the fractions we have. Because they're out of 8, we could think of pizza slices. So if we have 7/8, that's like having 7 out of 8 pizza slices left over. If we have 3/8, that's like having 3 out of 8 pizza slices left over. Now, just by looking at our models, we know this one is greater since we have more here. We basically have the whole entire pie, with the exception of one slice. And here we have less than half of this pie. So 7/8 is bigger than 3/8. Now these fractions are easier to compare because notice that their denominator is the same. So when we have two fractions where the denominator is the same, all we have to do is look at the numerators and compare 7 and 3. And 7 is greater than 3. Now this only works when the denominators are the same. So 7/8 is greater than 3/8. So let's do another example. Here we have 2/9 and 2/5. Now the denominators are totally different. So let's go ahead and take 2/9 and model that. So here we have a model with 9 equal pieces and only 2 are shaded. And for 2/5, here we have another model with 5 equal pieces and only 2 are shaded. Now, even though the denominators are not the same, in this case, the numerators are the same. And if you were to split something up into 9 pieces and only have 2, whereas splitting something up into 5 pieces and having 2, the difference is that the one that you split up into less pieces would have bigger slices, like 2/5. So when the numerators are the same, we're looking for the denominator that's smaller because that means the pieces are bigger. So in this case, 2/9 is less than 2/5. All right? So now we have 2/3 and 3/4. Now the denominators are different, the numerators are different, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to write equivalent fractions with the same denominator to be able to compare them. And in order to do that, we're going to take our two denominators, 3 and 4, and find their least common multiple. So some multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. And some multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. Now, the smallest multiple they have in common, so their least common multiple, is 12, because that's the first number that they have in common. So our least common multiple is 12. So what we're going to do to these two fractions is write equivalent fractions with the denominator being 12. So first, let's take 2/3. In order to take 3 and make that 12, what we're going to do is we're going to have to multiply it by 4. Now, whatever we do to the denominator, we must also do to the numerator. So if we multiply both of these by 4, we're going to end up getting 8 out of 12. And that's because 2 times 4 is 8, and 3 times 4 is 12. Now, we're going to take 3/4 and we're going to do the same thing. We have to think to ourselves, if I have 4, what can I multiply it by to get 12? And the answer to that would be 3. And now whatever you multiply the denominator by, you have to multiply the numerator by. So if we have 3/4 and we multiply both of them by 3, we end up with 9/12. So we have two fractions now with the same denominator. There's a denominator of 12 here, and then there's a denominator of 12 for this fraction. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite both of those fractions and then compare. So now because the denominator is the same, we could look at their numerators. And in this case, we know that 9 is greater than 8. So our inequality would be 8/12 is less than 9/12. And then we take that same symbol and write it in our original problem. So 2/3 is less than 3/4. So let's do another example. So here we have 3/5 and 9 out of 15. So the denominators are different, the numerators are different, so we have to find the least common multiple for both denominators. All right, so some multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Some multiples of 15 are 15, 30, 45, 60, and 75. Now, the smallest number both of these have in common is 15. And so our least common multiple is 15. We're going to take both fractions and make sure they have a denominator of 15. So firstly, we're going to start off with 3/5. Now, what number do we multiply by 5 to get 15? That would be 3. And whenever I multiply my denominator by, I must multiply my numerator by. So if I do 3 times 3, I would get 9, and 5 times 3 is 15. Now let's take a look at our second fraction. Notice that we already have a denominator of 15, so we just leave it alone. We know that 3/5 is equal to 9/15, and 9/15 we just brought down. If we look at both fractions, both the denominator and numerators are the same, so they are equivalent, meaning that 3/5 and 9/15 are also equivalent. And that's it.